Hello there. I was just feeling a little bit chatty as I was doing art and was kind of thinking, like, I really do enjoy live coloring these days. I do it once a week, Wednesdays at 8 Eastern, 8 p.m. And I've been having some, like, really in the flow sketching moments, and I realized I can chit chat while I'm sketching, like talking on the phone to friends or like whatever. So I was kind of thinking, like, what if I did some when I was feeling chatty? What if I popped online and did some sketching? So here I am. Try it out. And I have no idea if I will do this again or what if I will say much of anything. But feel free to say hi to me if you want to chit chat as well. Because I guess if I was feeling super introverted today, I probably would not be doing this. So, and it's Friday. It's time to have some fun. So these are some doodles that I did the other night, kind of in bed. I don't usually draw on my iPad. I do like what I'm doing now, which is Photoshop. But I did these sketches just being chill from bed, and now I am refining them. Let's see. Jumped brushes there. I don't know if you can hear a bit of noise. My neighbor has some construction going on, so there's some people talking and laughing and whatnot. This part's always really hard for me. Like if you're showing the top of a round in perspective, it's hard to get that back angle. For me anyway. Not that perspective has to be perfect. Sometimes it looks better when it's a little bit wonky. It's a nice round shape though. So on average, I probably refine things like 2 or 3 times. I do a really rough sketch like you see in the lighter color, and then I keep going a few times. See what I have, and then adjust. Maybe not you, Mr. Moon. It's cute, but I don't know. I feel like I already have a lot of moon art with faces. So unless I came up with something really different, which maybe I will, I'm not sure if I want to do that. Make sure I'm on camera too. This is a new setup for me here. Like that. It's kind of cute. It's a very wonky looking horse. Let's skip over him for now, but maybe we'll go back to that. I liked the curve of this leaf and the way it sat in space. Thought that was kind of nice. This will be fun. Kind of a medieval dragon here. I like to kind of give my animals a poignant, sort of a spiritual look on their faces, even if they're like a more fearsome animal, like a dragon or whatever. I just think that's fun. So let's see, dragon wings. It's cute. So you can see my first attempt at the wing there was really a big blob. And then I refine it a bit, or a lot. Chunky little legs. Who doesn't love chunky little legs? I know I certainly do. Oh, thanks, Marta. I'm glad you like it. It is the 2026 planner. It really came out cute. It's a home and garden theme if you hadn't seen it. And there's so much magic in it, and the year has just begun. For anyone who has it, there's like still so much to discover in the book and in your life. I know sometimes the beginning of the year can be weird. It's like, feels like, I don't know, for me anyway, I can speak for myself only, but it really felt, especially this year for some reason, felt like time was slipping away so quickly. And like I was too late and I had to hurry. But really, that's not true. Sorry, let's see. Okay, I'm back. So I'm not sure about the placement of that arm, but I'll roll with it for now. Feels like he needs a shoulder or something. I don't know. And then, is he going to have a second arm? Maybe just it's bent back more, so you only see a little bit of it. It gets tough to fit in limbs. I have found. That's not too bad. It looks pretty good. I like his face, or her face. And then have a little boot. This little puff of smoke. All right, so what else have we got here? That was supposed to be like a crown of thorns, and I'm not so sure about that. Could be cool. Boxes, I think I have a bunch of those. Cauldrons, I definitely have a bunch of those, but there's always room for more. So, especially at this angle, I have a lot that are like straight on like that, which is easy to draw and design with. But sometimes it's more fun to do like an open, like a different perspective and open top. So we'll try. get out of my comfort zone a little bit. Do a deeper perspective. Again, this back line is really hard for me to get the curve, which is why I drew things straight on for so many years. Is like it was not as challenging for me, but I really wanted to get better at that. So here I am. And it's the 10th year of Coloring Book of Shadows. I don't know if you know that, but it is. And it's fun for me to look back at my art progression. Like it took time. Like I kind of thought I would get to where I was in like 2 or 3 years if I really worked at it, but it took 10 years to increase my skill. Just if you're working on your own art skills, keep in mind like it might take longer, but it's still worthwhile. I don't know. And then, you know, do I get fancy with the handle or do I put it straight across for ease? So many things to consider. I trip out sometimes on the mechanics of like a little maybe too much, thinking like how does the handle connect? Why? It can add realism, but it also easily falls into the overthinking category. I have to be careful. But what about if I do the handle first and then figure out where it's going to connect? It might just be easier to do it simply. Well, it's always easier to do it simply, but maybe I will succumb to that. And when I drew my initial sketches, I used a bit of reference. Sometimes I'll look at medieval images or just scroll the internet or whatever, but then just do my own very rudimentary sketches, which I then start refining like I'm doing here. And then if I get rid of you can see like a bit of a cleaner look than the original. But then sometimes it loses the flavor. Like, I don't know, this one, I feel like I lost some of the shape, some of the animated shape to it, so it can go back and like fix it. There's always a risk of overdoing it. Maybe something like that. This is very classic, cartoony. I start designing the hardware because I'm like, well, if we have a loop, then does it need a handle? Maybe they serve 2 different purposes, but maybe they're kind of the same. And of course, you could design a cauldron with a loop and a handle, but maybe it's one thing. I don't know. What's your favorite cauldron like? Oops. Pens. My favorite cauldron doesn't even have a handle. It's ceramic and it's just decorative. It has Mickey Mouse on it and Mickey and Friends. My mom bought it for me on a Disney trip, so I just have fond memories of procuring the cauldron, and it's very cute. So I kind of like weird, putting the feet a little bit weird, maybe. So try that. Oops, am I a little bit off camera? Sorry about that. So that's a little different. I mean, I have a lot of cauldrons drawn already, but if I can draw one that's like has a little bit of a different vibe, then my time was not wasted. In fact, that's a very good use of time. A little puff of smoke. See how that goes. This is just like a squat version of that one, actually. I just squished it with Photoshop. But we'll see. Maybe it can make a cute shape. Is this for a new book? Yes. Yes, it is. You can try to guess what that is at this point, unless you want me to tell you, which I will. It's not that big of a secret. So let's see. That's kind of a good amount of stuff to have in the works. Sort of lost interest on that last cauldron there, but that's okay. So this is what I ended up with. And then I draw over it. This needs a candle, which I may or may not draw a new one for. I just drew a bunch of other candles that aren't here. And then the goal here is to refine it and make it neater without sucking the life out of it. Which is kind of easy to do, unfortunately. That middle ground where it still has style, but it's clean, pretty clear. I don't know, for me anyway, it's definitely easy to swing both ways. And then it's also easy to redraw it, but then not make any difference. Like, that's not right there. I need to, like, I don't know. Look, it's nice to have references. Like if you have weird things in your office, or like I'm looking for candlesticks just like around my room. Of course, you can look at, Pinterest or whatever too, but just to try to find, especially with these architectural details, it's always like kind of difficult for me to, these transitions between pieces get a little weird. I find myself redrawing like bases and these little hardware, I don't know what those are called, but they seem to stump me. Again, it's sort of the perspective round shape, Then I might go back to the first one I drew. It's a lot thicker. And you see how I made that like smaller as I went, but it maybe didn't exactly help the situation. So then I can like look at some of my other candles and be like, well, bigger wood's going to be better in this case. And maybe make it more like a cup shape. That's like an extra elbow that's sort of not needed. So what if I do like this? It's a little bit better. Okay. This needs to stretch. One of my favorite parts of digital drawing is being able to squish things. I really don't like the process of using an eraser, like a physical eraser. I don't know. So that's something I like about digital a lot better. Okay, that looks better. Problem solved. I'm trying to ride the line between like a spiral and a square here too. And then kind of using the rough shape I have at the bottom, and then trying to fill it in a little bit. Hi, Laura. Yes, I was feeling chatty. Spontaneous live sketch. Maybe I'll do it again. Maybe I won't. So far, it's been fun. And as I said when I started up, I find that sketching is something I can do and chit chat at the same time. So let's see. Okay, so now I can go back and look at this. Oh, I'm getting there. Potential. There is potential here. That's very basic candlestick, but that's not always a bad thing. This next one. I definitely need like one of these. I feel like I already have one of these, but it's time for a new one. A little 4-layer banner. So useful for a grimoire illustration. And then put something up through it, like a arrow or a whatever. Broomstick. I can draw anything I want. Sort of losing interest on that for some reason. Move on. Very simple, so I don't want to overthink it, but sometimes the details are what end up making it. Cool petal shape foot here. All right. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if I like this amount of wonky. Might get a little bit out of hand. Can always fix that later. Just keep going with the easy stuff, I guess. Can never have too many random plant and flower illustrations. I do that a lot when I don't know what to draw. I just kind of do some random plants. Oh, my dragon friends here. What else have I got? Pretty good set. This set of items is a little bit random. I try to draw purposefully, like I know exactly what page I'm sketching for. I try to draw purposefully a lot, but it's certainly not always like, as you see on this page, like very random. This was a very random doodling session. But it helps to add, I think it helps to add like a bit of whimsy. A bit of whimsy and randomness. It's not a bad thing. How are the wings going to connect to the body? The age-old question. That's the kind of thing that I really start to trip on. I have to be careful not to over. Not that that's a bad detail to focus on. I mean, there's some aerodynamics and, you know, you want to give your dragon good wings. That one's a little bit funky. In some cases, maybe just duplicate it. That's pretty good, actually. Maybe if I tilt this other wing up. Oops, am I off screen? Sorry. Give dragon his moment. Maybe if I tilt this other wing up and back a little bit. Kind of in the way of his mouth, which is fine, but might need to be down a little bit. Might be a little better. Oops. It's pretty good. That might work. I liked, ooh. So I liked how a little bit wonky that was, like kind of medieval, like the wing is way out to the side here. But it is a little bit silly, and it might look better like this, with wings like literally on the back. Well, I don't have to decide right now. It's a good curve. All right, so I feel like I had a better vibe going with my very first doodle on this one. So what am I missing? Well, this top was a little bit farther back in space. A little bit narrower. And those subtle tweaks really do make a difference. So it had wider hips. Kind of like that. Oops, sorry, I went off the camera there a little bit. Yes, okay, well, that's a little bit better. I do feel like I've drawn this same cauldron many, many times. What am I missing? There's like a certain shape that I see in the original drawing that when I redo it, it's just not getting there. A specific flavor that I would like to get. I think it's the round. Instead of squaring those hips off a little bit, it's more round. Tricky. I think it has to do with the way the lip is set up as well. So try to get that. Womp womp. One more time with feeling. Oh, that's such a difficult little corner to always get. Circles are still kind of my nemesis. What if I drew out like the just talking out loud? What if I just drew out a little bit of perspective grid here? What did I do? Oh, I just added a new layer for no reason, I think. Okay. I try to keep to a little bit of a perspective grid. Even a wonky one could help. And then this is pretty open topped, so it would have, and since it dips in, it would have a inner line to it, which will help. Okay, I think that's coming together now, finally. Better. And we'll forget about the handle for now, but just get the main lines right. And hope that does the trick. Ugh. Okay, I feel like that's not quite right. Again, it's those round lines in perspective that really trip me up. Getting better though. Okay, so now let's check this out. Good. That's it. That's more it. That's what I was looking for. Marta asked, how long have I been drawing and why did I decide to become a professional? Well, I've definitely been drawing since I was a little kid and very, very small. And it was always what I really wanted to do. It was to be like a Disney artist or a cartoonist, Warner Brothers, whatever. Something cool, right? Draw something cool. So that's what I always wanted to do. And then varying degrees of, success. And then I worked a corporate job for a while. Finally, when I burnt out on that, and that was really coming to an end, I had to do something else. And fortunately, I tried a couple other businesses and they didn't really pan out. But fortunately, Coloring Book of Shadows did work out. And that was 10 years ago. Oops, sorry, I'm off the camera there, drawing little handles. Yeah, Coloring Book of Shadows did work out. And that was 10 years ago. So here I am. Definitely still has its challenges. Like I said a little earlier, slower progress in drawing than I had wanted, but I do, my drawing did really progress. And my first book, though not technically very advanced in the art, people like the spirit of it. So it didn't really matter. I'm sure some people thought the art was terrible, but the right people liked the art in that book and thought it was cute or it's magical. Both. I've heard that book will like open your third eye. My first book, a lot of people resonated with it, even though the art was more rudimentary. So while it's fun to see progress in your art, that's really not what makes art art. There's a lot more to it. Yeah. And that's in today's modern art climate. I think that shows, a lot more like the humanity of art. The expression of it is really important to some people. To me, otherwise, I think it gets old. For me personally, it gets old pretty fast. Like, yeah. So anyway, but that's cool. That was challenging, but pretty fun. I like some of the angles and things that I'm seeing on that one. So there's still a few things on this page that I didn't finish, and these are not finished. These shapes here are not finished, but they're in a little bit better round like shape. Like I've added some details to them that I like, and then I will probably do one more finishing round on these sketch-wise, and then I turn them into vector drawings, which is tracing, but a different style of tracing digitally. If you know what vectors are, they're really cool. If you don't, check them out. You can Google it. Google vector art, and you can learn the difference. So sometimes I do it, but these days my assistant is more in charge of doing the vector art once I have everything nice and clean. So I'm going to sign off for today, but I had a really good time doing this. It was fun. to sketch with you. So maybe I will try this again. And let me know if you thought it was fun. You can just message me if you don't want to comment, and tell me if you thought it was interesting, and I will come back, maybe. Hopefully. All right, bye.